the Royal Blue Podcast from the Liverpool Echo.
Hello and welcome to the Agenda Podcast, the podcast where you, the listeners, set the agenda. You, the listeners, send in the questions. I'm Ian Croll and I'm joined by Big Bad Connor O'Neill. How are you, Connor? You okay?
Afternoon, Ian. You okay?
Yeah, not bad. You're off to Barcelona tomorrow, I hear.
I am indeed. I'm escaping for the weekend.
Oh, interesting. Any plans while you're over there?
Trying to recruit Lionel Messi, I think it'll be the big one.
Oh, you're going to be... well, that'll be very, very interesting.
I think it'll be a combination between Marcel Brands and Steve Walsh for all the wrong reasons. Decent me.
I think if you do that, you go down as an Everton fan legend.
Yeah, I think I would, yeah.
Have you got any plans to go and watch a game or anything like
I am
that?
going on Saturday to play Celta Vigo at home at the new camp. I am going to watch. I've been before to watch them there, so it's nothing new, but it's still quite spectacular. Like when you do go.
Nice little scouting trip there, then.
Yeah, for Champions League next year when we get our season kick-started.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, firstly, we've got business to attend to. We've got plenty of questions sent in via the Royal Blue Facebook page. Just first of all, I'll ask my own question. You went on Sunday. What was your feeling after the game?
I don't really know what to feel. I didn't really know what to feel after the game. It was mixed, really, because in so many ways, such a boring game of football produced so many talking points. Because I think from a total footballing perspective, it was two poor struggling sides playing out against one another. Because there was very little in terms of action, match action. So it was mixed, really, because obviously you've got the kind of the anger and the fury immediately after the game of the tackle, and Mark Nackett's refereeing performance, which was quite poor. VAR again, leaving more questions than answers. But I think from a footballing point of view, it was quite mixed, because you didn't really see anything from Everton like you thought inspired you with confidence, or give you a bit of courage, or and obviously I know we're gonna look at the main talking points, but this weekend's game now is huge, because we've got to beat Southampton. We've got to go there and beat them and get 3 points on the board, because our next two games, Southampton and Norwich, are absolutely massive. When you look at where we are in the league table, the points we've got on the board, etc., it's absolutely massive. Because like we all know, like we've all spoke about before, we've got that daunting December and Christmas period where we do have a lot of tough fixtures. So we've got to get 6 points from the next two games in my eyes, and I don't really think you see enough on Sunday to think, well, yeah, I'm confident here that we can get 6 points out the next two games, because it had in some ways gone back to that little bit of like laboured people not really knowing what to do in the right positions. Final third being a lack of sort of cutting edge in the final third. So it's a big weekend now, but obviously there's a lot of talking points before I think we even touch on this weekend of what we witnessed at Goodison on Sunday. Yeah,
absolutely, and we'll get to it then. Plenty of questions for us to get through here, and one of the hot topics over the weekend, it's been a hot topic. When I say hot topic, I don't mean it's a popular topic. I just mean it's just rife at the minute.
Everyone's dog's got an opinion on it.
Yeah, exactly. So VAR, and Bridget Bryson's gone straight in with a question. What was the Premier League's reasoning behind doing VAR the way they do? I think obviously she means without the monitors.
Well, my understanding of it, it was that it was to do with the time. They didn't want the time issue of a referee almost going to the VAR referee, video referee, whatever you want to call them, because there's so many variations of what people, and then having to go and look at a monitor in addition to the initial conversation of the replay. Yeah. So that was my idea of why it was done like that, my understanding. But in truth, I don't think anyone actually knows what's going on, do they? I don't think anyone is actually 100% sure what the rule is, why it's being brought in, and what it's actually doing, and what we aim to achieve.
It seems to be causing more confusion rather than helping out the matter, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it does. And my issue with it is that I think you look at VAR and referees, whoever's in that VAR truck is a referee. Whoever's making them calls is a referee. Now, them referees are a close, tight-knit group. One imagines that they're probably all very close mates because they work together on a daily basis. Yeah. They spend time together. They're probably the only ones who actually experience what it's like, and understand what it's like to be in the situation of a referee. And so my issue with it is that it'll take some, I know obviously, Lee Mason done that with Anthony Taylor, Brighton, but for me, I don't think a VAR referee or whoever a VAR official is going to make a call to put the referee under the bus. Because you look at Martin Atkinson, the other week where against Liverpool, against Man United at Old Trafford, that is probably a foul on Divock Origi. But Martin Atkinson stood over it, waves play on, then goes to VAR. Now, if his video referee overrules him and gives a foul, he's throwing him under the bus because he's basically saying, you got that wrong, and you got it wrong right in front of your nose. You've got that wrong. Now, if your mate and he's your mate and someone who and you get on with, you're not going to do that because you're going to think to yourself, well, I don't want to throw my mate under the bus, so I'll just go along with it. There needs to come to some sort of solution. And my opinion is that they should use VAR, but the referee should be given a chance to go and look at the monitor. It's almost like guidance of...
Did that work in the World Cup, though, when it was implemented? I mean,
well, I think it works a lot better than what it's working now, isn't it?
They're doing that in European Champions League fixtures as well as European leagues.
Well, I just think it make it easier because I think there's more chance of the right calls being made and steps being followed properly. If the VAR referee is almost saying to the referee, look, I think you might have got that one wrong here. My advice is go and look at the monitor and see what you think. Yeah. Because at the minute, we're seeing now where the referees don't want to overrule. The video referee doesn't want to overrule the referee because it's his mate. He doesn't want to throw him under the bus. He doesn't want to hang out to dry and say, you've made a shocking call here, and everyone. And especially, you talk about incidents that sometimes happen in the 5th minute of the game. So then that referee has been overruled after 5 minutes. He's still got 90, 85 plus minutes left to officiate. Yeah. I just think there needs to come some sort of solution to fix the almost, because we've got a concept that's just not working. The reasons behind it, bringing the concept in, are right, but the initial concept and how it's being managed on a weekly basis just isn't working. I mean,
you say that. Yeah, I don't think you're far off it from the VAR referee doesn't want to overrule the on-match official referee, i.e., the mate in inverted commas. But you've also got a situation now where the referees are just letting these decisions get bypassed, so the VAR will just look at it, so they don't have to make a decision as well.
Yeah, well, and that's an issue as well because I'm a rugby league fan. Obviously, rugby league's had video technology for a long time, but there is an issue now with rugby league where it almost feels like the referee on the pitch doesn't make any calls because he just sends everything upstairs because it's the easy things to do. It's the thing of, well, I don't want to, but don't send it up and it's the wrong call. I'm going to get absolutely hammered, so I'll just send it upstairs. And we have got to avoid that as well at the same time because we can't just carry on. I mean, we've got to come to some sort of solution faster because the way it's going at the minute is terrible. I mean, the whole game experience. I mean, I was at Goodison Park on Sunday. It was dreadful. You sat there and you don't know what's getting reviewed, why it's getting reviewed. You think of the Dele Alli on ball. We probably sat there for 4 minutes.
No one knew what was happening.
No one knew what was going on. We just sat there for 4 minutes. Something needs to happen quickly because the fan who's getting hit the most is the paying fan. The paying fan who pays his hard-earned money to go, and that's not right. And I'm just saying this from, the Everton blue-tinted spectacles perspective. It's happening across the whole of football.
Yeah, absolutely.
Football's not a cheap hobby anymore, is it? You have to work bloody hard to go and watch Premier League football on a weekly basis. The whole day is expensive, if being honest. So you can't have people paying hard-earned money to go and have it ruined by someone who's in a truck, and it just doesn't, for me, it just doesn't seem right, and they need to come up. I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting couple of weeks now because there's a couple of meetings this week, I believe. We've obviously got the international break 2 weeks where that's the time they need to implement something, come up with a sort of plan and say, well, we know we've made mistakes. This is what we're going to do now to rectify it because something needs to be done fast.
Well, the fans are the ones suffering first and foremost. I completely agree, but you also have to look at managers who are under pressure, under the cosh. Marco Silva, prime example. VAR has basically cost his team, our team, 4 points over the past 2 league games. Then 4 points would have propelled Everton right up the table, and things would have been looking a lot different if we'd have got them.
Yeah,
points.
Absolutely. I personally think that one of my biggest gripes from the weekend was not the whole Son Gomes saga, was the way we kind of just rolled over and took more VAR kind of screwing us over because for me, Silva should be sitting there now saying, absolutely.
He's been an advocate for it, hasn't he? He's backed it.
Well, he has, but he could still turn around now and say, well, this is enough now. This is costing my team. I mean, I know he spoke about respect and stuff like that, and that's great. But in 2 weeks' time, when Marco Silva's out for a job because, you know, if results don't go his way, is he still going to be looking at that VAR in the same because, like you say, down 4 points now, we could be sitting on 15, 16 points now. That's a massive difference from the 11 we're on, and that will show us right up to the table. So for me, I think Everton should be doing more to actually come out and say, well, we think we're being outdone to be here. Like we want answers, because it's you know, it's unfortunate when one mishap happens against you, but for it to continue to happen on a weekly basis and calls not to go your way, you do start to think, you know, are we just a guinea pig here? You know, are we just a club who the authorities know won't kick off when a call does go against us, but at the same time we're a big enough name where we can kind of trial and error stuff? I don't know, but I just think the club needs to do more now, because it can't keep happening. It can't keep happening because it's screwing us over. I mean, you know, if we was to get beaten by Southampton the weekend, they go 11 on points for us, 11. You could be looking back at the end of the season and say, well, them 4 points that we lost were massive. So for me, the club have got to do more. I think Silva's got to lead that charge, because I think now, because the beauty Silva's got now is if he did come out and hammer it, is he'd have a lot of support from people in the media. Because you look at like Jamie Carragher, for instance, who's, you know, one of the biggest pundits, media personalities in this country. He said himself on Sunday, he was a big advocate of it. He thought it should be implemented. He felt all along that it needed to be brought in. But even he said that enough's enough now. You know, I'm fed up.
He wanted to give it a chance before, you know, everyone else was like, no, it's not going to work.
So Marco Silva was similar along them lines, and that he wants to implement. So the support is there, and I think Silva needs the club and Silva needs to make a stand.
Okay, well, we've already talked about VAR far too much already in this podcast, but thanks for your question, Bridget. On to the next question.
What are your opinions on Richarlison's antics?
And that one is from
Matthew Kane.
Matthew
also adds, in my opinion, he used to be very clever with it, going down when he had to, but now he seems to want to do it at every opportunity. Do you think it's costing us?
Well, first of all, first question, I think Richarlison's antics are extremely, extremely frustrating. It's clear for all to see what he does during the game now, and you know, when he takes a little knock, he just seems to go down like he's being shot and he's in severe pain, which, you know, only he will know that he might be in pain. His pain threshold might not be as high as other players, but yeah, I hate it. It does me head in. I think it is costing us because referees are looking at him now, but I also think he's been singled out this week. He's not the only one to do it, so he's been singled out in the media, and again it goes back to, is he being singled out because he plays for Everton? Because there's a handful of players who could pick off the top of my head that'd do it, namely ones who play across the park, and they seem to get away with it, and they seem to get the decisions all the time. It's very, very frustrating. I think Richarlison just needs to concentrate on his game. If he gets fouled, then yeah, he gets fouled. Don't be going down too easy. Try and stay on your feet. If you're in pain and you're on the floor, just try and sucker up a little bit. Try and get up, because there was moments on Sunday where he did go down and we needed him up on the pitch, but he was like riding around in pain, and yet that type of situation cost us. But I just don't think it's Richarlison, and to single him out is as the lone person and player in the Premier League is disgusting, to be honest.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I felt on Saturday, Sunday, where I was in the main stand, there was groans almost every time Richarlison went down, and it felt as though the tide was changing a little bit in terms of people were just fed up of him, you know, seeing him on the ground. But then you do look back on, you know, the highlights, and he probably should have a penalty.
Oh, he definitely should have had a penalty.
You know, he should have a penalty.
But that's where it's costing us, isn't it?
And maybe he also should have had a foul where he knocks the ball past or Davies Sanchez in the dying seconds. So, I mean, in my opinion, I think on Sunday, Martin Atkinson refed Richarlison, and he refereed him with a reputation.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He refereed him as a kind of, he's got previous, he's done it before. I'm just going to wait for him every time he goes down, because and that's where it is costing us, and that's where you do hope that Marco Silva is having a quiet word and saying, well, look, you are getting fouled.
Yeah.
But if you stop going down every possibility, every chance you think you've got, and just went down when you're actually kicked, we'll get a lot more success from it than what we are right now this minute.
Yeah.
Because at this minute, we're getting nothing, because referees are coming with a perception in the mind of, well, he's known for throwing himself on the floor. he's just gone down too easy. He's not strong enough.
Well, we had a very similar situation years ago with Andy Johnson.
Exactly, yeah. When Andy Johnson dived for a penalty, which was then crucified in the media. So I think, but at the same time, I think that's wrong on Martin Atkinson's point of view, because you shouldn't be refereeing with a perception and with an agenda in your mind of.
Manias as well, wasn't he the first player
to be retrospectively given a 2-game ban for diving? Yeah,
which he didn't dive.
No, it's not a blatant clean. And we've seen a lot worse since then. But for me, I just think it's kind of like the lesser two evils now, because it
is frustrating.
It's frustrating, and there is times where he does go down far too easy.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, you've got instances where, like say, Martin Atkinson refereeing the weekend, refereeing with a clear agenda and a clear, kind of point of order almost. In that he's not going to give Richarlison anything because he's of the belief that he's a diver, which is wrong, and that should not be happening at England's top flight.
So Richarlison, if you're listening and you're a fan of the Royal Blue podcast, stop and stay on your feet. Next question from Martin Jarvis. In trying to find positives from the Andre Gomes injury, where there are clearly very few, does this mean that Tom Davies should get a run in the team?
Well, I think Tom Davies is going to get a run in the team because he's one of only 2 fit centre midfielders that we've got at the minute, because there's obviously question marks over Fabian Delph for the weekend, who appeared to pull up with a hamstring injury, I think it was on Sunday. That only leaves Morgan Schneiderlin left within the ranks. So I think Tom Davies is in for a long run in the team, because there's very few options and there's pretty much nowhere else to turn. But I do think in respect to Davies, he has been impressive the last couple of weeks. I thought he had an okay game on Sunday. I thought his pass for Walcott, Walcott's opportunity was superb. So hopefully he'll get a bit of confidence and he'll be able to take his chance with 2 hands.
Okay, John Warder with the next question.
Can we make a formal complaint to Mike Riley, ref head? West Ham disallowed Mina, Brighton, pen given, Spurs 2 pens, etc. Or do we need to continue to be a nice club, soft, easy target? We need to stand up for ourselves and call it out, or will it continue to happen to us? Might cost Marco his job.
I mean, in short, John, I just don't see what the point would be. I mean, I would hope I wanted Silva to come out and make a bit of a stand after the Tottenham game, and like you said there, show a bit of fight, and this was his time. I think that's the time to do it. I don't think there's any point in making a formal complaint, because in terms of VAR, we're not the only club suffering with it, are we? Everyone seems to be suffering with it. So in short, I just don't see what the point would be, because I just don't think we'll get anywhere. They'll just fob us off, and that'll be it.
Yeah, I disagree. I think we should. I think we've got to be seen to be doing something. I think we can't just lie down and sort of just take it on the chin and go, oh well, there's always next week. I think we're at the point now where we do need to start making some sort of noises in the stand, because let's face it, if it was a club in the top 6, they'd be singing from the rooftops over stuff that we've experienced the last couple of weeks. I mean, you look back a couple of years ago to Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, when I think they played Cardiff in an FA Cup tie, and Cardiff had been quite physical and got stuck in, and Guardiola said afterwards, it's a disgrace. I want to have a meeting with the authorities, because my team are trying to play the game the right way, the beautiful football, and we're almost being kicked off the pitch by a gang of thugs. And all of a sudden, City started getting, they got a meeting to discuss it, and and got told that things were going to be implemented and stuff like that. So, in my opinion, we need to go down the same route. I know, okay, they might palms off and not show any interest, but at least you're showing a bit of fight. At least you're showing we're not just burying our heads in the sands and sort of saying, oh, we'll just take that because we've got a reputation of being a nice club and everyone likes coming to Goodison and it's lovely and friendly. Well, I think we need to show a bit more ruthless side and a bit more, be a bit more aggressive in our approach and say, no, look, enough's enough. I believe there is a managers meeting, I think, at some point, or some kind of managers summit. Mm-hmm. If Mike Riley's there, I hope Marco Silva's at the front of the queue when he gets his chance to speak to him and he asks some questions, because there's a lot of questions that we need to ask that need answering. So we do need to start making a stand, in my opinion.
It's an interesting point of view. I just think from what I've seen and when Mike Riley does his ref watch, that he just agrees.
That's not Mike Riley though, is it? It's David Gallagher does ref watch.
Sorry, David Gallagher, yeah, sorry. But
it is a click, isn't it?
Yeah, but he does. David Gallagher agrees with most of the decisions anyway.
But it is a click. But it is a click. There's no doubt. It goes back to what I said earlier about a VAR referee is not potentially gonna overrule the on-field referee because it's his friend. It's his mate. It is a click. But I just think if we make a stand and we at least we show some sort of fight and we show some sort of comeback and we don't just sit there and take it, people would then feel a little bit more appeased, should we say, more than anything.
Okay.
The next question is from Ian Price. Is that it for Marco? How much are we going to miss Gomes?
I don't think that's it for Marco, obviously, because he's still in the job. Potentially it could be it for Marco after Southampton, depending on the performance and obviously the result. So I know we head into an international break then, so there would be calls for, well, this is the right time to make a change because we would have a significant amount of time to approach other managers. In terms of how much are we going to miss Gomes, I mean, I think it goes without saying that we've only won football matches this season when Andre Gomes has been on the pitch, and when he hasn't been on the pitch, we haven't won football matches. So I think that's it. We're not a club with huge amounts of talent like that with Andre Gomes. Don't get me wrong, we have got good players, we have got talent, but for a player like Gomes to run the game and make things taken over and picking out that pass and scoring the odd goal, that's what Gomes is, and we've definitely lost that, and it's going to be a struggle. I am a little bit worried with the fact that Gomes he's not going to play again this season. It's not good, and we're going to need someone to step up and fill that void. Tom Davies, is he the one to do that? I think he can do a job. He's not going to do the Gomes job. We've mentioned it on a couple of podcasts in the past. Whether it's the right answer or not, Sigurdsson dropping deeper. He is a good footballer. His work rate. He can pass. He can shoot from long range and score goals. I think that could be the person to fill the void deeper, as a deeper role rather than his preferred number 10. But whether Silva sees that, I don't know. But we are going to be in trouble without Andre Gomes. Yeah,
I agree. I think it's a massive blow, and I think the only slight positive is that it all seems to have gone quite well. The operation.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully he's on the road to recovery sooner rather than later. But I think it just, sometimes managers in football are just destined for no luck, aren't they? And I think, you look at Marco so far this season, anything that probably could have went wrong.
Sometimes it's better to be a lucky manager, isn't it?
Kind of has gone wrong. I mean, you look back at last, couple of weeks ago where, Bernard just getting back to showing the type of form that we all believed he was going to produce, pulls up with a knee injury, and you just couldn't write it in many respects. No. And I think, in terms of is that it for Marco? I think Saturday is massive.
Absolutely.
And I think, that'll go a long way to decide whether it's time for Marco or not.
Okay, there's your answer, Ian. Michael Sullivan with the next question. Is the atmosphere at Goodison a worry again? ? Without Martin Atkinson and the VAR farce igniting the ground, our play was so passive against Spurs, a team devoid of confidence, and without their best player, there was hardly anything to get us pumped up. Where was our high tempo and pressing game gone?
I must admit, the atmosphere.
I agree though that even against Watford, the atmosphere was bad, and it didn't, in the first half at least anyway. And then I agree with that, it didn't ignite until VAR decisions and refereeing decisions started, having an impact on the game. Has that always been the way at Goodison Park though? Like, certainly I feel like it has been ever since I've been going.
I think sometimes your team have got to give the fans something to shout about, haven't they? And I think, for being honest, we haven't had enough to shout about over the last number of years, have we? It's
always mid-table mediocrity, so why are you going to shout about that?
And it's always been a kind of case of like not much really going on and not much really happening, and that's always having an effect on the atmosphere, because if you're going to games thinking we've got a real chance today, and if we win we go into the top 4, or you've got something to, you're a spring in your step. Like you say, for us it's kind of been mid-table mediocrity, nothing really happening. People aren't going to get excited about that, are they? This is, and this is again, it comes back to the, this is a team that's cost over £300 million. So you should have more than more than that going on a match. You should be thinking, you know, this team should be pushing top 6, playing exciting football and getting on the front foot. And it's so far from the truth. And I think in terms of our high tempo pressing game, I think that's been in and out for a while, though, hasn't it? I think, you know, you look at West Ham, where we did play high tempo and it was really, you know, really lively. And I remember coming on, I remember saying on this show afterwards, you almost felt like it had to become the norm, that type of performance at home, not the exception when it really, really matters most, we'll turn out the bag. And since then we haven't, you know, we haven't really done that in any of the games we've played, have we? Haven't played that exciting brand of football. So I just think, as Goodison lost its way a little bit, yeah, but I think the whole club's kind of lost its way a little bit and become a little bit disorganised, a little bit disinterested, because, you know, we're looking at now, we're in November, and we're nervously looking over our shoulder at the wrong end of the table, you know. And this is the team at the start of the season, and after the close of the window, where you're thinking, you know, if we get our act together and we get up, you know, we could be right up there with a chance. And, you know, you look at the likes of Leicester's, for instance, you know, flying high, and you're watching Leicester thinking, God, I wish this was us, you know, these everything that I want us to be. So I think that has an effect on the atmosphere, because people are just going there and they're not bored, but they're not expecting nothing. And I think it's almost to the point now where it just feels like it's becoming a grind already. And that's where Marco Silva's got to address things, or whoever, if it's not Marco Silva, someone, they've got to get something, they've got to get them back on side, the fans. I mean, you look at last year, the home form really picked up after the derby. But let's face it, that atmosphere was like that because we didn't want to roll over and get battered and basically hand them the chance of the title. Yeah. You know, and that's what kickstarted it off. But it almost feels like this year we need something again to kickstart another run like that off. Yeah. Now, whether that be a new manager or along them lines, I'm not too sure. But is the atmosphere of Woody Goodison? Yeah, I think it is. But like I say, the players have got to give the fans something to show supposed to have to. They can't just expect people to turn up in the droves become week and be bored. I mean, you know, certainly that Watford game, you know, that was one of the worst first halves of football I think I've watched in a long, long time. For nothing happening. And this Sunday was probably the same. Like I say, you know, if you take the VAR instance out of it, Mark Atkinson's, you know, woeful decisions and Gomes' you know, horrific injury. If you're just analysing the actual football, you'd be bored. You'd be struggling to pick things out to talk about because nothing happened. Yeah. You know, we gave the ball away once, they scored. We put one good cross into the box and scored. You know, and that was it, wasn't it? From a football perspective, because you can't really remember clear-cut chances. No. You can't think back of that was a key moment in the game, or
I think Richarlison had a shot, didn't he? Which
again,
was virtually straight at the keeper.
It's a shot. It's not, you know. It's so I think you've got to give people. You've got to do something to make people go on the edge of the seats. And at the minute, we don't do that. And we look a long way from doing that, if I'm being honest. Yeah. Okay, plenty of questions still to go, so we'll run through them quickly because we don't want to keep this podcast going for any longer than it needs Anthony to. Roberts Jr. asks, is it time to give Tosun a run of games through the middle? Still think he's our natural finisher? I'm not against giving Tosun a run of games in the mid as the main centre forward. I think we've got players there who can have more of an impact than him, but he obviously is a goal scorer because he does score goals for Turkey and he seems to score every time he plays for Turkey. I just don't think he suits the style of play that Marco Silva wants to or is trying to implement. And the biggest concern for me is that Tosun goes from a Marco Silva point of view, he goes up to the very bottom. So what I mean by that is 1 minute he's not even in the squad. Yeah. Next minute he's coming on to save the day against Tottenham. I mean, how does that even work? He's not even like on the edge of pushing for a place, and next minute he's coming on to try and save you 3 points. Okay, he did save us a point on Sunday, and it was a decent headed goal. I just think sometimes some of the subs that Silva has made, I'm not criticising all of them. Some of the subs that he's made, he just throws them on without really a plan. Yeah. And it's just, we'll just throw that striker there. And I think we ended up with, you know, at one point, and Tosun was on the right, Dominic Calvert-Lewin was on the right. I don't know where anyone's playing. It's a lot of confusion. And I just don't think, I mean, we're hicked because we got a point, but I don't think that is the correct way to go forward.
I wanted to succeed for Tosun. He obviously likes it at the club because he's been given opportunity to leave and he wants to stay. So I still think at the moment Richarlison's still our best player to play in, you know, that lone striker role, although I do think he was isolated in that 4-3-3 formation on Sunday. So I think Silva needs to look at, he just needs to get the best and the most out of these current crop of players, and he's currently, well, he's only done that once this season, and that was against West Ham. And forgive me if I'm wrong, but that was Richarlison up front, was it? And Iwobi in the middle.
The 10.
Walcott
and Bernard on
right.
either flanks.
So obviously, you know, there's a sticking point there with Bernard who's injured. I think Iwobi wasn't great on Sunday. He obviously gave the ball away for the goal. Felt he did a lot of running around without much happening. I just think he's got to at least try and fall on a system, whether it's by luck, fall on a system that works, and he's got to do it quick. In terms of Tosun, I think he's still going to have a big part to play over the course of the next season.
I mean, the big thing for me with Tosun is the way he just does seem to shoot up the pecking order and then just shoots back down. Because I must admit, I was very surprised on Sunday when he was given the nod to come off the bench first. I was very surprised that it almost felt a bit like we did desperation in the fact that, you know, it was...
For Walcott, who I thought was having an okay game, I don't think he was like amazing, but I thought he looked a bit of a threat going forward at least. And then we took that threat off. Crazy. Next question from Liam Fitzpatrick. Do you think Mason Holgate should keep his place against Southampton? And if so, what does that do for the confidence of Michael Keane?
100% he should keep his place alongside Yerry Mina. I think the pair of them done well.
Yeah, they look like they're forming a good partnership now, even better than Keane.
They done really well on Sunday, and they were good in the first 40 minutes against Watford in the Carabao Cup. I was impressed. So yeah, what's to do with the confidence of Michael Keane? Well, he's not played well enough to really have any say, has he? You know, he's not been good enough. So until he improves, until he gets better and he stops making stupid mistakes that cost us goals, then kind of a place on the bench is all he probably really deserves.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ian Ferguson, should there be an independent panel to appeal referee of our performances?
I think we've talked about VAR far too much on this podcast. I think that's just, you know, you be checking the checkers and checking the checkers of the checkers. I think, you know, that's we need to get the first check right first of all, and just start getting that process right. I think if you start getting independent panels and to appeal referee and VAR performances, I think it overcomplicates things, and then it'll be like, well, we're not going to know about that decision for like a good couple of weeks, and then by then it'll be like, who even cares, because it was weeks ago. I wouldn't put it past it coming in if VAR can then prove to be successful, but at the moment, no, I wouldn't.
Stephen Grady asks, with Gomes out for a long spell, Bernard out too, do you think our January plans will change? The need creativity and quality we have all talked about are now being amplified with arguably our two most skillful players out. Knowing we may only bring one in or two in, who would you prioritise?
It's a tough one in January because I just don't know what we're going to do, because I still feel like we're going to be hampered by financial fair play. You know, we obviously still going to need to try and sell players before we make any more expenditure. I know we were meant to be in for Zaha with a 60-70 million pound bid, but
that was only ever 52, wasn't it? I think 55.
But I still don't even think it was real, to be honest. Like genuinely, I still can't get my head around it, and I don't know where it came from. We obviously need reinforcements, and I just don't know where it's going to come from. I mean, you're obviously going to look at the midfield now. Who are we going to be able to get on a short-term, deal, or even a loan deal that is going to be able to match up to the likes of Andre Gomes? I think what we need to do is get Bernard back. I just read an article there that he could be back by Norwich. If not Norwich, certainly the following week. So Bernard back. Gomes is out for the season completely, so obviously that goes without saying. And then we've got Gabaman obviously coming back potentially in January. So we will need to get him up to speed as soon as possible. I just think we're just going to be hampered by financial fair play, and I just can't. I'd be very, very surprised if we go out and spend big on a player. I really will.
Yeah, I agree. I completely agree.
Next question then, Bradley Rettler. Will Silva be sacked if and only we're in danger of relegation?
I think Silva could be sacked if we get beat on Saturday, to be honest.
Well, that will then say we're in danger of relegation.
Yeah. So, and I think Steve Hill asks, is VAR helping the Sky Darlings? Well, I don't think it is.
Oh, sorry, I missed Steve's question.
I don't think it is. Because I think Carragher and Colby actually been quite critical of it, and I've actually slammed it for what it is, Yeah. But he asks, is Silva safe? Are we going to be in a relegation dogfight? My opinion is a lot depends on Saturday and the Norwich game. Because if we don't take 6 points from them games, there is a possibility that we could be in a relegation dogfight.
Yeah.
By Christmas, because of the games we've got to play.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But again, I always go back to that point of we have always played our better football and got our decent results under Silva against the top 6 teams. One question here, which again from Bradley Rettler, which I have missed out, but I will ask because it is a good question. What do you think Moshiri has learned from the sacking of Koeman and subsequent disaster of an Allardyce appointment?
Well, I think the sacking of Koeman is probably not just what Moshiri's learned, but what a lot of fans I think have took from that is hence why there's not so much more pressure on Silva than what there already is. Because I think if we hadn't had the sacking of the Koeman and the chaos that it brought for them 6 weeks and while we were, in limbo lands pretty much of where we were going next, I think people would have been asking questions now of Silva and saying probably, but because of the way it all transpired back then, that puts people off because people think, well, we don't really want another 6 weeks of total chaos. We can't afford another 6 weeks of total chaos because the games we've got coming, we can't be having one person in charge who thinks he's going to get a job, but then doesn't get the job, and vice versa. So I think we learned a lot from the sacking of Koeman in the sense that people don't want to panic. The disaster of an Allardyce appointment, I know we got an 18-month contract, but
it probably wasn't a disaster, though. I think that's harsh to call it a disaster.
I think I know we got an 18-month contract, but I don't think he was ever getting kept on beyond that. I think that was just a sweetener to get him into time because they wanted him, because they knew what he could bring. He done what he was brought in to do, I suppose, in some respects.
Even I'm not saying I advocated for him, but
it's not it won't be the greatest memory of Everton's long history, but I do think it's I do think it's kind of left fans questioning what's to go next. I think it more than I think Moshiri with Silva, I think because he put so much time, effort, money, everything into bringing him into the football club, he's desperate to work. And ultimately, he can't afford. Can he afford to have another manager who he sacked? Because that would be 3 successive managers who he's appointed and will have sacked within an 18 to 2 month year spell, which doesn't look good, does it? If you're the owner and you're doing that doesn't look very good.
The pressure will turn on Moshiri.
So then people will turn on Moshiri. So I think ultimately we learnt a lot, but that could all change with a defeat on Saturday to Southampton.
Okay, Matthew Barry with a question. I think we have answered this, to be fair. I've answered it anyway, and I think you added to it. Is it time for Everton to send a delegation to the FA Premier League and demands answers about the decisions given against Everton? I mean...
Well, I'm for that, You're against it, yeah. I've got your back, Matthew, don't worry.
I only said no just purely for the fact I just don't know what good it would do. That's all. I agree about Silva should have come out and fight and stand up for the cause and support his players and team and the fans, but I just don't know what good it would do. Maybe I'm just feeling a bit full of myself and I just think, what's the point? Yeah.
Callum Lapsley asks, do we need some hardship in our club to get the players to show more fire in their belly and more desire? Could it be the kick we need although obviously terrible for Gomes, it could spare, excuse the pun, us on as a club?
I was thinking about this after Gomes got injured, and obviously you want Gomes in your team, he's your best midfielder. But sometimes in life, when incidents like this happen, you do rally round, don't you? And things can take a turn for, the better and put a bit of a positive spin on things. So, in my wisdom of hoping
positivity.
that we will, hopefully turn the season around, it has occurred to me that maybe this week, despite the players probably feeling extremely low, but that we could turn things around. And obviously we've seen 1 or 2 pictures of Gomes back at Finch Farm, which is obviously great. Obviously he's in a cast and on crutches, nowhere near.
That's not a clue for. Could he make it in a couple?
No, absolutely not. Is he going to be fit for the Carabao Cup game? But I just think seeing stuff like that does help, and it is positive. And you know, do it for Andre, and you know, and stuff like that. And I hope so. I really, really hope so. That is the case. Next question from Tom de Groff. With Gababan down and Guy gone, is Beningame ready for a real first team chance?
Yeah, I think he is. I think he could be the only option, couldn't he? I think we'll be half on the ground, but you know, we're on bare bones at the minute. So yeah, I thought he impressed. Obviously, you know, at 18, 23 level, and he initially first impressed when he kind of got his first run out under David Unsworth. Sorry, I think you think back to that game against Chelsea in the Carabao Cup, where he was impressive at Stamford Bridge. He done well against Watford on a Sunday, and then I think he kind of got caught up in the lacks within the first team squads. If you remember, we kind of after that we fell off a cliff, didn't we, a little bit with the results under Unsworth. We were well beaten at Leicester, well beaten at Southampton, you know. So I think he was just unfortunate that he was a part of the ship that was at that point sinking. It wasn't even on the rocks, it was sinking. And it probably would have been hard for the lad, because it's going into that type of environment where you're not used to, you know, obviously with the 23s at that point he was used to winning. To go into that environment where, you know, you're in a team that's really struggling and it's getting overpowered and stuff. And I think he's been unfortunate the last couple of, you know, say the last 18 months or so with injuries, etc. They've kind of bogged him down a little bit. But yeah, that'd be, you know, be good to see him get some first team minutes and hopefully, you know, stay a claim for moving forward.
Absolutely.
Oliver Evans asks, with all the doom and gloom, one recent highlight has been the emergence of Sidibe. Looks a player. I'm over taking up the option to sign him. What do you reckon? I
mean, he's certainly in good form. I think he's warranted his place ahead of Coleman. I think the reason Coleman started in the cup game over Sidibe, I just think Silva was trying to shuffle the pack a little bit, wasn't he? Which I didn't mind. Obviously Coleman's the captain, and you fully expect your captain to be playing week in, week out. But if he's not, you know, cutting the mustard, then I think Sidibe. Pardon the pun. I didn't want to say it, but you know, I think Sidibe is more than qualified to, you know, to be ahead of Coleman. I think because he wasn't playing, there was rumours that, you know, the loan could be cut short, and I think AC Milan were meant to be interested. But as far as I know, other than what I've been told, that he's on a season-long loan. We paid for a season-long loan, and he can't go anywhere unless stated by Everton. So Sidibe looks a player. Just hope he can, you know, keep it up. And I don't want to say let's sign him now, because, you know, it's just form at the moment. He needs to be doing this type of thing on a consistent basis. And when I say consistent, I mean, you know, for the season, you know, hopefully if the time comes that we are going to throw a bid in, you know, the valuation won't be up too much. But I think it's strange that it's Monaco, isn't it?
Monaco, yeah.
I've let a player of his, you know, what you would see as a quality player go. They're not doing great in the league themselves, so
they've had a lot of financial problems, haven't they? I think over the last couple of years, I think.
So I think he looks a player, and he's definitely warranted a place ahead.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me the weekend was that him seemingly getting the nod over Coleman probably proved that he's now Marco's first choice fullback.
Yeah,
because I think it probably could have been easy for Marco to just stick with Coleman after
he's proved it in the past
Wednesday night. So
Silva, hasn't he?
I think for him to get the nod over Coleman, it's proof that he probably is the first choice right back. And you know, let's face it, we need to look at bringing in a right back anyway, because Coleman's not got long left.
Yeah.
So we do need to look at bringing a right back in. And, you know, it could well be next year that Sidibe and John Joe Kenny are battling out for the right full back spot.
Yeah, but he's proved that, like saying there about with the Baines and Dean situation. Yeah. He's not afraid to change it straight away if he needs to, and you only have to look at that situation. So absolutely. Okay, last question. And it's from Ashley Stewart, our mate from New Zealand, who has actually sent in a picture of his tattoo, and I've got a picture there for you to have a look. But his question is, if Silva was to go, would you bring back Moyes?
I have real mixed feelings on this, because there's a strong part of me that thinks you should never go back. You should never try and reinvent the history, what's happened before. You should always look forward and try and look at carving something new open. But then you're also looking at it and thinking, well, if we was to sack Marco Silva, how many genuine options is there out there? Is it just an easy appointment for the club to go back to Moyes because they'll think, well, he knows us, we know him, you know, you imagine maybe Tim Kerr would be a part of his coaching staff and stuff like that. So there'd be some real nostalgia, I think is the word. Was I have him back? I'd be pursuing other candidates before I pursue David Moyes. He would kind of be a last resort option in my eyes.
You probably look, if that is to be the case, you're probably looking at like till the end of the season contract.
Yeah. I think you would imagine so. I can't see him being giving it on the long haul, should we say? But like I say, I would pursue other options first and pursue other avenues. But if it was between him and say a David Unsworth or someone like that, then I probably would give Moyes the nod. Okay,
that's it for your questions and for our questions. Thank you for submitting, everyone who's been listening today. We will be back next week. Are we going to be back? How long are you in Barcelona for?
I'm back on Monday, so we can do next Wednesday.
We'll have a look at the schedule and see what they will do for an agenda podcast. Quick prediction then before we go. Southampton, what's your prediction? I predicted 2-2 in the fan podcast. I don't think we'll win.
1-1.
1-1. Okay, Connor. Thanks very much for coming on the Agenda podcast. I've been Ian Croll and you've been listening to the Agenda podcast on the Royal Blue Acast and iTunes channel.